Hi, my name is Carlos and welcome back to the channel The Foreigner. So, this video is about a loving family, a small community, five-member family uh, that very close and tied together. I mean, very close knit, among themselves and very close family. And you wonder what family are we talking about here? We're talking about, of course, a five-member family of Gene Hackman, the actor, the award-winning actor that passed away recently, and his wife Betsy, a pianist. As we know, uh, Gene Hackman was a Oscar award-winning uh, from long, with a long career in Hollywood, as we can recall. One of his main famous movies, French Connection, and the other one, Unforgiving. So it wasn't, somebody who was very, that nobody knew about him. But of course, he's a legendary actor among them, of course, like Clint Eastwood and many others, in that generation, from the golden age of Hollywood, from the 1950s and 60s, of course, and recently, of course, one of his movies, Crimson Tide, as you can recall, not over 30 years ago, Crimson Tide movie. There was a present, a Jack Terrier, dog present that on his movie, and he wasn't stranger to pets. I mean, to especially dogs. So this video, like I said before, is gonna be about his loving family, a five-member family. I'm not talking about their kid, their children. I'm talking about the dog, the dogs that one of them passed away, Zinna, uh, an Australian Kelpie breed mix. The other one is the other two that are still alive, of course, German Shepherd breed, bear called Bear, and the other one, uh, German Shepherd also, named Nikita. So all these, his wife, and his wife, of course, and the three dogs. We always, refer to them as a couple, and sometimes we refer to you know, the dog that was dead. In this case, Cena, right? That was the dog, one of his dog that died inside a cage. It was inside a cage when the rescuers, the paramedics, and first responder came. Right, as we recall the story, the tragic end of their lives. And so let's talk about a little more about also the principle of loyalty and the protective instinct amongst them, among not just among Zena, the dog that passed away, that died, that was found nearby Betsy. When remember Betsy was the wife of Gene Hackman, was found nearby the bathroom area where the dog was, the Zena, the Australian Kelpie, was found in a cage, also dead. So how close was that relationship between Zena and Betsy? I remember that Zena, this particular dog, was adopted at a shelter. And as we enter more and digging deeper of what dogs, what the personalities of dogs are, remember that each one of those three dogs had different personalities. One is only German Shepherd. The only was German Shepherd breed, which is different personality because it's mixed, of course, and the Australian Kelpie, which is the dog that passed away, that was found dead. So this dog, uh, the Australian Kelpie named Zena, that was adopted from a local shelter, a county shelter actually, in Santa Fe. And how, if whenever you have been, or I have been too, of course, at the county shelter, I've been through stores, where the pet store at the mall sometime, and they have, so most of the time there are like 300 dogs, 200 dogs, who knows, and two caretakers sometimes. Most of the times, if you visit a shelter, that's what it is. It's run by the county. I'm not saying it's too bad, but they're overwhelmed with work. I mean, having 200 dogs to take care of, feed them, put the water, shower them. I mean, and they're all in cages, of course. I mean, in cages, in the crates, each one of them separately, of course. And some of them, they're small puppies. Sometimes they're together, but most of the time they are separate. But you can, I mean, just by watching these dogs at a shelter and watching a dog from a pet store, you can tell the difference. So there are different personalities. I'm bringing this subject into light because they have different personality. Typically, the dog at a shelter is kind of sad. It's a it's a sad looking dog. It's just there like, looking depressed. I'm not saying that they don't feed them. Of course, they feed them, but some of them are barking, as I recall, visiting a shelter a couple of years ago. I mean, some of them are barking, some of them, but most of them are just quietly, like laying down, like looking, staring at people who are there, or just staring at nothing at all. I mean, staring to the wall, at the cage, and of course they have water. They have. I'm not saying they don't. They feed them, of course, but the reality is that at the pet store, like in a mall, I remember Roosevelt Mall, in New York and the other malls, there are pet stores at mall. Well, in a particular pet store at a mall, they see people all the time. People come, window watcher. People come into to the mall. They pass by the store and they smile at them. They do blah blah blah. They play with them. So they are used to being seeing people and just with a smile. I mean, relationship with a dog. I'm bringing all this to life just to describe a little more when we get to describe the relationship between Betsy and the pets, and also Jean Hackman and the dogs. I mean, it wasn't just an animal and human relationship. It was really a close family relationship. And as I describe you, making the comparison, a dog from a shelter and a pet store, where at a pet store there is the incentive to have the dog all well groomed. I mean, all the time, 100% of the time, because they sell it at for a couple $1,000s, on some of them $5,000. I mean, there's good money on play. I mean, at risk, it's like an item, that a valuable, like a jewelry store. I mean, you have a pet store, they have to make money on these stores, of course, and they have all the little puppies very well groomed. They're very well, I mean, very well taken care of. I'm not saying the county is the one that doesn't take care of they do the best they can, of course. And these dogs are rescued dogs from the street, abandoned dogs, and the neglected dogs. So being that particular dog, Zinna, an Australian that was found dead, of course that was a close and a special relationship between Betsy and Zinna, the Australian Kelpie. And well, Betsy did adopt this dog from a shelter. But the other dog, the other German Shepherd, was not. They came from this, of course. They bought it from a store, right? The one from the shelter was the one that had a very close relationship. Of course, all of them had very sense of loyalty and protective instinct, So they were very like a close family. And that's the way people who knew them at the Santa Fe area, and they saw them with their dogs. I mean, they saw that special relationship, of the Hackmans, Betsy and Jean, with their puppies. Especially since when they fell into this craziness of isolation, and isolation meaning some people, well, that's their privacy, that you have the right to privacy. But why they were isolating themselves from people? I mean, the more they stay away from people, there was a reason, of course, always. I mean, they weren't that way all the time. I mean, many years ago, and don't say that this is because of their age, that people as their age, they isolate themselves. People don't want to. Who in the right mind wants to be isolated? I mean, just because of the age, because you reach the age of 65, 60, 70, 75 years, it's nonsense. It's insane. It's crazy to think that people want to isolate themselves. Of course, it's not. I mean, but there were reasons, of course. I mean, society has, there are good and bad, just like everywhere. There are greed. People are not so much, loyal to their principles. And if they're not loyal to themselves or their principles, many people, right? Most people. I mean, the Hackmans most likely in the recent years they were staying away from people. They were isolating, socially disconnecting from people. And as this was happening, they were getting closer to their dogs. I mean, their dogs were their family. I mean, their only family basically were the dogs. Of course, you can say, well, many people knew them. They are celebrities. I mean, the Gene Hackman's a legendary actor. I mean, in Hollywood, of course, we have been through, describing his career, right? But they were isolated. They were disconnecting from society, and not that because, well, they wanted to necessarily, and doesn't mean that they want to, stay away from people. They want to, reject people. There was no such. That's not, that's could be a mental issue. But they didn't have. Nobody's saying here, in the description of their illnesses that they have a really mental issue or anything. I mean, Betsy was the same day that she passed away. She was driving a car and going through the stores, going through different stores, different, places, the pharmacy, the pet store. I mean, the getting to the vet, office, the veterinary office, and getting, running errands just like anybody, normal person. Very active, very healthy, looking healthy. Of course, but we know what happened to her, right? That she passed away. She collapsed with this rare antivirus, a rare illness that is, that you acquire from, people acquire from animals, right? From liquid, liquid drops from animals, and of course excrement from animals, residue that you're exposed to, that you acquire that, which is very rare, of course. It's a pulmonary disease that very much, almost nobody, I mean, around 40-50% survival rate, which is very low, right? So amazingly, and in that relationship that they developed, especially Betsy with Zinna and the other dogs, and just think about the moment that when the paramedics and the first responder arrived to the house, right? And they described that one of the dogs, one of them, the German Shepherd, right? Not the mixed one, the one mixed, right? Nikita was outside. Nikita was outside in the premises. But the other one, it was around inside. It was roaming around inside the house. Right? Of course, the other one, the first dog was dead, but one inside roaming around, just sniffing around the house. And of course, the other one was outside in the premises. But when they arrived, they had to, of course, this is like a crime scene now. They had to push the dog that was inside the house. In this case, Nikita, I'm sorry, that was inside the house. So that one of the instinct of loyalty and protection, and the protective instinct is that the loyalty goes all the way. They didn't go away. The two surviving dogs, they didn't fled, even though that they were hungry. They were starving basically. They were eating with whatever they could. Of course, the dog that was inside, they found inside the house. He was drinking water most likely from the toilet. From the, who knows? If there was any water containing, most likely it was gone, right? But most likely he was, drinking from the toilet. And we, for a fact, we know that dogs survive only like 3 days, 3 to 5 days. 3 days without water and 5 days without food, right? With nothing to eat, right? But if at least these dogs were at least drinking water from the toilet, they were able to survive, and they did. 2 weeks later, until somebody came, a little more than 2 weeks later, somebody came to find, what was going on. They found them dead. And that sense of loyalty that Betsy and Jean found in these dogs, and of course it's a mutual loyalty. They're loyal to the owner, to their master, and the master loyal to their pets. So they're family, not like a family. Basically, they were the only family they really knew for who knows how long, for years. Because as they described the relationship with their children, especially, right, a nephew with the other, there was a call every couple of months. A telephone call, checking on them every couple of months. They described the last call was in October. Think about it. That was months ago, right? And it's really amazing, right? But so the only close really family that the family relationship they had was with the pets. So we are talking about not just two, right? Not just the couple, right? um Gene and Betsy, right? His Gene and his wife Betsy, but the other three dogs, right? The one of the of course passed away. So even just let's recall the moment of the caretaker, the maintenance guy that came the first for the first time after 2 weeks after everybody's there. I mean, the two were there and the dog was there. As we rewind a little bit and remember the call that was made to 911, and as he's describing the scene, right? The scene, what he's looking into. He was looking through the window, one of the windows, and what he saw through the windows, right? Two dead bodies, right? And he's trying to describe to the 911, person answering the phone, uh, so well, as he describing what he's seeing, that people, those two people look dead. I mean, they're dead. They don't, but in the background, you hear, we can hear, or we all can hear, uh, the dogs barking. So even though that these dogs, the two surviving dogs, Bear and Nikita, were alive. I mean, they knew this guy, this caretaker, this maintenance guy. They knew him because he used to come all the time to do maintenance work at the premises, at the house, of course. But they were barking. I mean, they knew the guy, but they were barking at him. There was nobody else there. Only one person. I mean, only the person making the call, the emergency call, telling the 911 operator, please come back, send somebody quick. Somebody, that's the way they're described, please, and the dogs were barking at him. So there, you see how the protective, even after the owner, their master was there, they were still trying to protect. You know what the message was there? That, from the dogs barking at this guy, the maintenance guy, is that, hey, don't go through the window. Don't go too near by the window. You are, that's not okay. That's not good. That's not appropriate. Kind of telling this guy. That's the message from the dog. Of course, they were barking. They can't talk, of course, but the message is that they were barking at him. There was nobody else on the premises, so they were barking at him. So the protective nature, the protective instinct, the loyalty, the loyalty to their master. They didn't escape. These dogs outside, the two surviving dogs could have escaped. Escape meaning, as they're starving after so many days without, maybe just water from the toilet, like I described. They were able to go outside the house and come in. Of course, some houses has a door, little door for dogs to come in and come out. But as the description of the maintenance guy that called 911, the description is that the door was halfway open. So which means that these dogs were able to go out and come in. So constantly they were coming in and out, yeah, to get water, at least drink water from the toilet or wherever they could find anything. But they were able to survive, and of course in a bad condition, right? So as we more dig into this, they found in this, it was a small community, 5-member community. I would say 5-member community, meaning Betsy, Jean, and these puppies. I mean, these dogs, of course, the 3 dogs, of course. Sadly, the one, the most, there's always a child in any family, right? That child that you were born. It could be sometimes the youngest of the 3 brothers, sometimes with sisters. So it's like a mom who was very protective, and I have seen those in my family, that kind of relationship. Many other families have seen it. That mom and dad sometimes are very protective to the youngest one, or if it's not the youngest one, the one with disability. Have you seen that? I mean, I have seen that. Of course, that's a real. I'm talking about a real life situation here. That if someone has, some kind of disability in your family, among your brother or sister, that's the one mom and dad protects more, of course, because they need more protection, not just from mom and dad, right? But from, of course, from the rest of the family too. They, people call kids with special needs, right? That nowadays, and of course, that was the situation for Zinna, the one and the reason they had that Betsy had, Betsy and Jean Hackman, they had the Zinna on a cage. It's not because they wanted to they wanted to be cruel. I mean, there wasn't there is no issue of animal cruelty, but of course that pet that Zinna passed away because of starvation, of course, and dehydration. Only dogs can survive only 3 days without water. I mean, with both, of course, if they don't have food or water, 3 to 5 days, and they're gone. And of course, if they only getting water, but the one at the cage wasn't getting nothing. It wasn't the only thing they got. This dog had was the whatever they had for that day, and he ate it, and that was it. But the rest of the time, I mean, the rest of the 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks later, of course, he was not a big. This dog was not able, to survive those, so long for that long, definitely. So it was very interesting to see. I mean, to hear and to learn more about. Of course, the necropsy is gonna come out soon. The necropsy is the autopsy for dogs. They call it necropsy, which it's gonna tell us more. It takes a little more time, but it's gonna tell us more about what happened to that, what exactly if took place, and what kind of illnesses. Of course, this Zinna, the Australian kelpie that died, went through a procedure recently, and she was getting, of course, from the vet, the medication and different supplies for the pets, for the dog also, and the same dog that passed away, it was getting like a treatment, like chiropractic treatment, which there's a specialty in the veterinary area where they specialize in chiropractor, like in the bones, the care for the bones area, right? Bones of what? For the animals, I mean, animal care. So there was a chiropractor for dogs in that Santa Fe area that took care of months ago. Of course, it wasn't like every couple of weeks. I mean, as she described it, that she took care of the dog months ago, and as she was describing, that close relationship between Betsy and Zinna was very special. So I'm sure that in an attempt, because as she was collapsing, of course, she was collapsing, and maybe perhaps she survived for a couple, for a few hours or so. But do you see the report, the chief examiner, reports, the chief examiner's office report, it doesn't precise, it only gives the 11th as the time that perhaps died in the, of course, after 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is the one, the time that she arrived from the errands in the community, I mean, in the village, right? I'm sorry, the Santa Fe area. And then as she comes back, so of course, after that, it could have been a few hours later at night or early in the morning, the 12th. But still, the timeline is very much accurate, the 7-day timeline, in which when she passed away, 7 days later, very much 7 days later, of course, Gene Hackman was dead also. That's from the pacemaker attached, to him. The pacemaker activities ceased. It wasn't work. It wasn't, issuing any signals of from the device after the 18th of February, February 18th, right? 17 was the last time that, very late, most likely up to early morning, February 18th. Of course, well, the report of the chief examiner's office says that that Gene Hackman died because of the health, the cardiovascular, issues unrelated to the Alzheimer. But we all know that, guys, 7 days without water and food, a human cannot survive farther than that. Or of course, in some case, it could be exceptions of some case, but most human are not able to survive without water 7 days, without food and water, both, of course. And if you only get water, you might be able to survive. I mean, without food, of course. If you keep getting water, 7 days or 8 days, but no water, you might be survive. You can survive many more days, of course. But without both, with no food and water, of course, there is no way. And what a coincidence, right? That 7 days. It took 7 days, very much, for Gene Hackman to die. I mean, it took 7 days after Betsy was dropped dead. I mean, dropped at seven. It took 7 days, meaning that most likely he went down also, but and he couldn't even crawl. He couldn't get up. He couldn't, his cane was nearby. Gene Hackman's cane was nearby, and his glasses was nearby. I mean, he could not even reach anything. I mean, reach meaning reach the cane or make noise. He could have take his cane and make noise or scream or try to get up with the help of his cane, of course. Without he can't even reach the cane, just like a 2-3 feet away. He couldn't even the cane was like 3-4 feet away. He couldn't even crawl that long that far. So most likely this is starvation and out of thirst. I mean, that's that's one of the worst kind of torture that any human being can go through. Thirst and starvation, no food, no. I mean, and one of the worst horror movies. I mean, what was on his mind those 7 days? It he must have been felt like 70 years going through those 7 days, still alive, and not able to do anything for the wife. That he's staring at the wife, by the bathroom, and maybe the dog still barking the first day, a couple of days, because dogs are very protective. I have a puppy that her name is Chacha, of course, is a French breed, French breed. So she's very protective of me. Hopefully, if it comes, I'm gonna Chacha. Let's see if she comes. I'm sorry, guys, to interrupt. Let me just interrupt just to show you my French. Just for a minute, my French is she's sleeping, of course, but she's very protective. Oh, she's awake now, right? So everywhere I go, this little puppy. I mean, we are three members of the family here, and when we all three here together, right? As I walk outside, she's always following me. Anywhere I go, like to the bathroom, she's stay nearby. Anywhere I go in the premises here, the front door, she doesn't stay with the other two who lives here. The other two persons, my wife and the son, of course. But she's following me. So they're very protected. They are very loyal. They are attached. That's one of the amazing things, that they get attached to one particular person more than others. So that's one part. One of the characteristics of like this puppy, the Chacha, and the same has the same personality has of course the Australian Kelpie, the one that passed away. So we can imagine how close they were. I mean, how close they were. Of course, they were close to the other two also. I mean, the German Shepherd and the German Shepherd mix, of course. You have three different breeds, but they all have what they had in common was loyalty. Even after death, they were still there. The dead bodies were there, and they didn't go anywhere. They didn't go anywhere. They were barking. I mean, people arrived, and they were most likely the rescuers came, and they put them all, on the side. They separated, from the inside the room, of course, but they were still in the premises trying to protect their masters. So doesn't that teach us a big lesson of loyalty and protective instinct? Of course, the protective instinct you develop from loyalty. I mean, loyalty is one of the most precious values. I mean, being loyal to your family, being loyal to your friends, your real friends. I'm talking about real friends. I mean, being loyal to, of course, Jesus Christ first. Being loyal to God. God, demands us. He says, if we are born again, Jesus, loyalty above all. Being loyal to God first. God is first, then the rest is you. Then comes to family and wife. Always God first. But even pets. I mean, there has been some reference to what happened to Zinna, the Australian Kelpie that died. That in this tragic event, right, of Gene Hackman and his wife, all together. But if we dig more about the personality of pets, about how relationship evolves, in time, because these pets were for more than 10 years. They were day and night with them. Think about that. More than any family member, more than any other close friend or any other friends, if you want to call friend. Of course, we are not going to compare human, of course, with a pet, of course, but there were. I mean, why most people who are private or reserved, the issue of privacy, and that that people want their privacy, that they want to, they want to they don't want to be bothered, they want to be, they want to be reserved, they want a private life. But as they go private more, they isolate themselves from society, of course. They stay away from people. I mean, that's a reject. Let's have a clear talk here. They reject people. That's the whole issue. But they could, as they reject people, or they stay away from people for all the things that they have seen on people. All the things. You know what I'm saying. The things that they have seen on people. So they, that is, in a way, they isolate themselves, of course. But it's society that pushing them away, push people away, and the closer they get to their puppies. It's an unconditional love. It's an with no condition, unconditional loyalty. Even a puppy that some people neglect, or push them away, they always come back. They always come back. Like they forget very easily. I mean, it's not like humans that people don't forget. I mean, people get angry, people get so upset. Dogs, they're not the way. That's not the way. Like I see it with Chacha. I just show you, a little French Terrier. I mean, they just come back. They just there. She's very protective. When I go outside, but she goes there with me. I mean, she's looking at anybody passing by and start barking, and start any other dog, or many street dogs in the area. I mean, even street dogs, she start barking. She's a female dog, of course. But so the principle of, if anything in this video, if you can recall anything from the principle of loyalty, and the instinct of the instinct of protectiveness, meaning protect each other. I mean, so we learn from puppies, we learn from dogs. There are so many lessons to learn from this case. I mean, just this is not just a case. Hopefully this doesn't just go like a statistic, like a call number. Well, case number, among millions of cases, right? But case number is such, this is the number of the case, and one more of unsolved mystery about, what's going to happen with the media, saying, well, this one of these, the scripts, the movies, and this, and, all, fiction, the non-fiction thing, and the whole thing that's going to go on. But things as a human being that we can learn from this lesson, the loyalty from dogs. I mean, if they could just talk, what could they say? What happened there? What went on there? If they could have just, pick up a phone, right? The cell phone nearby somewhere maybe, and they could have dialed maybe, 911, like with the puppy, finger, with their feet, right? Just put like, they don't have hands, of course, they have only feet, their foot, just like a dial 9. Like if they can learn that, can they teach that, trainers? There is a lesson for trainers too. Come on, guys. I mean, it's possible. Why not, right? Trainers, dog trainers, I respect them so much. Train them to dial 911 in the case situation like this. They've been there for over 10 years, these dogs. I mean, these pets, members of the community, this small 5-member community I call, right? If they could have just dialed 911, right? So it could change it could have changed the story of, this tragic event, that nobody deserved to go through this torture, this starvation, like Gene Hackman, even at an advanced stage, 95 years old. And people say, well, with the Alzheimer, maybe he was not feeling. Of course, he felt all the torture, all the the suffering of somebody for 7 days. That's a long time to suffer in a situation like this. So guys, thanks for watching again. Hopefully we're learning a big lesson with this. I mean, this is not just to gain like a views or anything, but learn a big lesson on how to treat each other, our dogs, our puppies, our elder, our grandparents, those of you mom and dad that are still alive and they're in advanced age or so, that we all thanks again for watching. And if you learn like this content, please subscribe, and if you don't mind, give thumbs up. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next video. Take care now, guys. God bless you all.